Once again, good afternoon, friends. This is Dinesh Panchal from Navrachna University. We welcome you for a webinar on Python programming. Today, our speaker is faculty Mr. Yogesh Chaudhary. Yogesh, sir, over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm thankful to Navrachna University for the idea of our pros, sir, to start this series of webinar and Dinesh, sir, to execute it. So this is the series of webinars that we are having at Navrachna University, and I am delighted to give the talk today on Python programming. The idea came to my mind that I should give webinar on Python programming, especially for those who are not hardcore programmers and the developers, but still they feel the importance of this language or any programming language, and they want to automate few things in their field, if not to the extent of software, but at least some small programs that they can write for obtaining the results and automating the computational problems that they have in their field. I have tried to keep this presentation very generalized so that any audience from any field can understand it. So the interest of developing this Python programming for various automation purposes, it got developed to me when I attended one program on Introduction to Computational Thinking and Data Science. So when I attended this program from MIT, so that time I understood that the basic need for the programming is to have computational thinking. It means whenever we have any real-time problem, we must be able to think for the problem, to understand it properly, and then to write a solution, step-by-step solution, which we call as algorithm in our field. So the computational thinking is very much important whenever we are planning to start learning any programming language, not only Python, but any programming language. So today, I would like to cover these contents. There are 10 points in today's agenda, starting from introduction to Python, a little view of history, and then one by one, we will move towards writing the first Python program for the beginners. Then we will understand few basic and important things which are needed in each and every program. We will develop one small application that is a simple calculator because the aim is computational thinking. So my focus is on computations. So I have taken one small application of calculator, a basic arithmetic calculator. Then to focus on computational thinking, I will end with one small puzzle which will emphasize on how do we solve the problems. And then we will move towards summary, and then I will take up your questions and answer. Meanwhile, also, if you'd like to have some questions, you can send it to me through chat. So I will be pleased to answer those questions. Or you can note down your questions, and then at the end of the session, I will answer all those questions. With the limited time, I may go with little bit higher pace. So please synchronize to it. So the first point is about the introduction. The very first thing, how the idea of any programming language that came into the existence. For example, the English language is natural language that we use in every day. For example, if I'm saying one sentence that I went to the bank, so it adds little bit confusion to the mind that whether I went to the bank to borrow the money or I went onto the bank at river. So there is a confusion. But the computer's language is a formal language. It means it is very strict in terms of its rules. These rules are called as semantic rules, the grammar rules. It is very specific, it is very clear, and it is unambiguous. It means whatever the steps we write, you will not have confusion, and no instruction will have two meanings. Each and every instruction exactly carries a single meaning to not to have any sort of confusion. And you have many choices to learn the programming, starting from very basic one, that is C++, then coming on to the networking languages like Java, then programming logic that is using AI, and so many. But today I will talk about the Python, and I would like to give you one suggestion from my experience. If you learn any one programming language of computers, in other language, you will see the change in the way we write and the functionalities, but the hardcore logic remains the same. So the first thing is, why do we need this Python? For example, if I ask you that I want to multiply two numbers, so in the process of multiplying two numbers, we can do it manually as well as automatically through the computers. Now, whenever we are doing it manually, the computers are beating us in two aspects. The first aspect is the speed, and the second one is accuracy. Maybe we remember the tables up to say 20 or 30, and then we can answer easily for the smaller values. But as those multiplier and multiplicand values get larger and larger, we find it a bit difficult to give the answers in a less amount of time. And there comes the need for the programming language. So the first step is, can we tell our computers, or can we teach our computers that how to multiply? And then can the computer multiply for us? And the answer to both these questions is yes. We can teach computer, and then later on the computer can solve it for us. But for that purpose, we need some common language that we can use to communicate with the computers. The language that human being can understand, and the language that computer can understand. And that language is nothing but the Python language. So this is the simple example of multiplying any two numbers, but then you can scale it to any other problem. And can we teach solving that problem to the computer? And can computer solve that problem for us? And the answer remains yes, it is. So I will use one terminology that is called as pseudo code. Code is a piece of program, and pseudo means it is not exactly the piece of program that computer will understand, but any programmer will understand. And we can write it in a very generalized language. So I will continue with the same example of multiplying with the two numbers. So for multiplying any two numbers, we need two inputs, and I'm calling first input as X and the second input as Y. Now there are different ways that we have studied that how we can do the multiplication in our primary schooling. One simplest one is to perform the multiplication as a series of successive additions. And for that, we need one extra variable that stores our multiplication. So I'm calling that extra variable or extra parameter as answer. Initially, I'm setting it to 0. And in programming language, it is called as initialization of variable. So when I'm writing answer equal to 0, I'm doing initialization, and in the red font, what you can see the answer is called as variable. The X and Y are also called as variables. Now from the name, you can understand variables means which is not constant. Its value is supposed to change over the time. And that is the reason we are calling it as variable. But the important thing, it is a container and it can contain the value that user will give. Okay, now the next step to solve the problem is add the Y to the answer for X number of times. So for example, if I'm taking X equal to 4 and Y equal to 5, it means add 5 to the answer for 4 times. And definitely it is going to give us the answer 20. So here we did not perform the multiplication, but we perform the addition. And this is what we want to teach to the computer that, okay, fine, whenever I want to do any multiplication, and if there are two variables, X and Y, then you add one variable times the other variable to itself, and then tell us the addition. And that addition is nothing but the multiplication of those two numbers. Now, I will come back to this example of multiplication. Before that, a light review on a history of Python. The Python originated, the development started in 90s, and the first version came in 90s, but it was not a standardized version. Then the international committee worked on it and released its first version in January 1994. And then they called it that stable version as Python 1.0. Then over the time, you can see that there are various versions that are coming up with the time. I will move to the next. So from this 3.0 version, as of today, whatever the version that we are using is 3.0 onward. Okay, what is the difference between these previous versions and the current version, the main difference is whatever the programming has been done in these previous versions from 1.0 to 2.6 or even 2.7, these programs are not compatible and we cannot run those programs in these new versions. So one has to take care that Python program is not backward compatible. So whenever we are referring any study material, I suggest you that please ensure that you are referring the study material that talks about Python 3.0 and above, because it will not support the backward programming. Okay. And here is the person, he is a Dutch programmer who developed, and you can see the transformation in himself over the span of 30 years from 1990 to 2020. And similar transformation has happened to this programming language and the capabilities of that programming language. Nowadays, the Python programming supports the various ranges and aspects of the programming life, starting from web development to networking and many advanced topics that I will list out at the end of this session. Initially, it was designed to solve only the computational problem on a single computer, but now it has become a widespread distributed computing language. And the latest version of this stable version of the Python is 3.8.0, and it is released on 18 December 2019. And as I mentioned to you that uh, the versions up to 2.6 or 2.7, they have their end of life. It means they will not be supported after 2020. So we have to take care that we are learning the Python from 3.0 onward. Okay. The next thing comes is the interpreters and the IDLE. IDLE is the integrated development learning environment. Okay, what it means? First of all is the interpreter. Interpreter is nothing but the translator. Whenever we are, suppose if I'm talking in language A and someone understands the language B, we need some translator. So these interpreters, they act like a translators. Whenever we are writing a Python program, we write it in a human friendly language. It means the words in that language are very common for us, but these words are not user friendly and common for the computer to understand. So we need to make these human friendly words converted into machine friendly words, and that task is done by the interpreter. So interpreter is a translator that translates our language to the language that computer can understand easily. And this ideally is an interface between the computer and us. So we will write a program that we understand, and that program will be further converted by this ideally into the language that the computer can understand. And for this, we are having variety of options, and I will just show you the list of this. Uh, these are some of the ideal characteristics required by any ideally. The first one is we should be able to save the files that we code, and we should be able to reload those files whenever we want to execute. The second thing, we need not to go to some other prompt or other software to run those programs. Rather, we should be able to run that program within that same software. Then that software must tell us that where are some syntax errors, and it should help us to debug those errors. The next characteristics that we expect from any ideally is the syntax highlighting. It means there are some rules of writing the program, and by mistake, the typo mistake, what we say that if there is some typo mistake, then it should be highlighted that I am doing some typo mistake. At the same time, it should help me to propose some words that I am supposed to type, that I am going to need in my programming. The simple example, whenever we are writing any query in the Google, it gives us the suggestion. So similar suggestions should be given by syntax highlighter. So it saves the errors that may happen because of the typing. And the last one is nothing but the automatic code formatting. In technical terms, we call it indentation. Formatting makes the program looks in the form of blocks, and it makes it easier for us to understand. That we will see when we will do the first program, you will understand the importance of formatting. So on the basis of these few parameters, the one will choose the ideally. So I will list out some idealists, and then the programmers, they choose one of those depending upon their convenience. The first one is Eclipse plus PyDev, and you can note down this, and you can select anyone. Functionally, all are same. All are producing the output. It just depends what type of programming you are doing. And as of now, I will not suggest you to go with which one. I will just list out because you are at a beginner level. So I will just propose you the list of these idealists. So first one is the Eclipse plus PyDev. The another one in the computer field that we use for Python programming is the Sublime Text. The third one is Atom. The fourth one is Visual Studio Code. The fifth one is the PyCharm. The sixth one is the Spider. This is specifically used for data science purpose. You can see in the GUI that you can see the graphs as well. So the people who are working in the field of data science to visualize the data in a better way, it is not only about the program and the text output, but you can see the graphical output as well in the same window. Then next one is the Thorny. Then Python Anywhere is a cloud base. So if you do not have any software to run your programs, then you can run your programs on cloud. The another version of the IDLE that is cloud based is Cloud9. So these are some of the IDLEs that you can note down, and then you can experiment with those, and then you can find out your convenience to use, and then start using that particular IDLE. The next concept in the programming is variables and the basic data types. For any program, if I want to write any program, there are 5 essential things that the program should have. The first one, we should have some input data, because as long as we do not have data, there is no meaning for the program. We want to do some processing, and the processing happens to produce the output on the provided input. So we need data. Again, we need to ensure that our data is clean and it is in a proper data type in order to produce the correct output. The next important aspect of any program is the user interaction. User interaction means the user should have some control on the program. User can make the choice that what data should be given. The third aspect of any program is decision makings. And we can understand if the program is not going to help me in making some decisions and is not having some decisions, then there is no meaning of that program. We are using the programs to solve the problems, and whenever we solve the problems, the first
तो छोड़ रहे थे।
Yogesh sir, go.
So the next thing that comes in any programming, for all 5 things that we have seen, the very first thing that comes in the programming or any program is the data. So first we'll talk about the data and then about the user interaction. So talking about the data, The computer data is divided broadly into two types, that is numbers and strings. So strings are nothing but the set of characters. And then in Python programming, we are having different types of numbers. Uh, the one is called as the whole number, which is not having the fraction, and that is called as integer. The another category of the numbers is the fractions that you can see 3.14, which comes with the fractional values with the decimal point. The another category is about the Boolean variables, which are having only two possible values, that is 0 and 1. Uh,
Go.
so the one thing that I discuss with you is about the variables. So variables are some useful names that we give to store some values which act as containers. And the way to remember the data, we need memory with us. Similarly, the computers, they do need memory. And that memory, we provide the memory in the form of registers, RAM, and ROM to the computers. So all the processing that we see happens in RAM and registers, and maybe some bit of processing at ROM also, but only for the reading purpose, but not for the writing purpose. So we can have some variables, for example, weight equal to 6 units, length equal to 5 units, width equal to 10 units, and then I want to calculate the area. So length into width, and then what that item is table. So table is having its weight 6 kg, and its surface is having length and width of 5 and 10 respectively. So these are nothing but the variables that we need to use to store the temporary results, and we may write these temporary results to the permanent memory of computer on the hard disk. The next is user interaction. If you see the points here, after understanding the data, the second point is about the user interaction. So for user interaction, we have two functions. We interact with the user, or the computer interact with the user in two forms. One, to take the input, and the second one, to give the output. So here how we can interact with the user. So first thing, to get the inputs from the user, we ask the questions in the questionnaire form. For example, if I want to ask someone about the age, then I will take one variable with the name age, and then on the right hand side of equal to, I will write how old are you, and I will write this statement in the form of one ready-made function which is called as input, because it gives input to the computer. So simple. The another one is name, and again I am writing name equal to input, and what is your name. So you can see here that I am using two variables. Later on we will see that how computer understands the two important types, the numbers and strings, because you can see here the first input is number and the second input is string. But how computer will make the difference, that we will see in a while. And after that, after the processing, we want to tell users about the results. So here, when I am asking the person about the age, we can tell the year of birth, and then that can be also calculated as current year minus the age is nothing but the birth year. So that is how we give the output. So for input, we use a ready-made function called as input, and for the output, we use the function print. Print because the printer is an output device, and this print comes from there. Okay. The third thing in the programming that I discuss with you is about the decision. So decision is nothing but we need some variable to take the decision, and the decision is taken on the two values true and false. Here in the diagram you can see one diamond shaped box, also called as rhombus, with the question mark, and that question mark indicates that we are taking some decision, and the decision comes with two possible outcomes, one on the left hand side and one on the right hand side. Okay, what is that? For example, we may test some conditions like whether the temperature is greater than 40. The another condition that we can check, if the legs number of legs is equal to 2 and not tall. And not is also one logic operator that you will understand when you will go in the depth. To test some condition for equality, we use 2 times the equal to operator. 1 times equal to means we are assigning the value. For example, age equal to, so we are using equal to sign only once. It means we are assigning the value. And when I'm using that equal to sign 2 times, it means I am testing the equality. Please remember this. Okay, so I can write a piece of program like this, and I'm writing that if the temperature is greater than 40, colon is the syntax. We need to write the syntax. So if it is so, then we will write that it looks like summer. Otherwise, it looks like cool weather. So that is nothing but the decision making. So as I told you, the decision will have 2 outcomes, true and false. So if the condition is true, it will print it is summer, and if it is false, it will print it is cool weather. So that is the decision. The next concept that we had is about the repetition. So this is how repetition look like. So again, here I am testing one condition. If that condition is true, then I am repeating some piece of code. And if that condition is false, then I am coming to the right hand side, where I am coming outside the repetition. On the left hand side, repetition. On the right hand side, end of that repetition. And then we continue with the further logic. Okay. For example, we have taken the example of multiplication, so we can continue with that. So I am taking variable answer and I am initializing it to 0. Now for repetition, there is one standard construct that we use, which is called as while. And as long as x is greater than 0, we are adding y to answer. And that is what I am writing here in terms of programming. While this x is greater than 0, we are adding y to the answer. Now for some of you, it might be surprising that how these two things can be equal. On the left hand side, we are having answer, and the right hand side, we are having answer plus y. But please remember, according to mathematics, this is invalid statement. But in terms of programming, it is valid one, because the programming permits us to have any number of variables on the right hand side, but the left hand side, we must have only one variable. Okay. Then the next is, whenever there is a equal to sign, the computer first solves the right hand side, and then whatever is the output, that is transferred to left hand side. So according to computer, it is a valid statement. Writing answer on both the sides and having equal to sign, it works, because we are not checking equality. Here we are assigning the value. And after that, we are modifying the value of x. We are decrementing x by 1. And after that, we are printing that the multiplication is equal to the value stored in that variable answer. Okay. So I will explain you this small piece of code with the table. We are having 3 variables in this program. One is answer, another one is x, and the another one is y. So I have written a table for y, answer, and x. You can see in this program, nowhere we are doing any modification to the value of variable y. We are modifying only 2 values. First one is the answer and the second one is x. So in the table, you will see that the values of y are not changing. So these are the initial values. Initially, y is equal to 5 because we want to multiply 5 and 4. Initially, the answer is 0 because of answer equal to 0, and x is 4. Now we are coming to this next line where we have written while x equal to 0. At present, the value of x is 4. 4 is greater than 0 is true. It means the next 2 lines will get executed. And whatever are the lines that you want to repeat will be shifted to right hand side by the tab space. So you can see 2 lines are shifted on the right hand side, answer equal to and x equal to. Whereas print is not right shifted. It means print is not the part of repetition. If I want to make this print also as a part of repetition, it must be shifted to right, but it is not. Okay, so let us see. In the next step, what we are doing is answer is equal to answer plus y. at present the value of answer is 0 plus y, it means 0 plus 5. So the new value of this answer will be 5. In the next step, I'm writing x equal to x minus 1. The value of x is 4 minus 1. So the next value of x will be 3. So after one repetition, the value of y remains as it is. The value of answer gets updated to 5 and the value of x gets updated to 3, decremented by 1. Now you can tell me easily that what is going to happen in the future steps. The y will remain constant throughout all the steps. Every time the value of answer will increase by 5 because we are adding y, and every time the value of x will decrease by 1 because we are writing x equal to x minus 1. So the future values will be y 5, answer is 10 and x is 2. In the next step, y is 5, answer is 15 and the x is 1. But if you remember the diagram that I showed you earlier, after repetition we are again going to the decision. So after this repetition of these two steps, we again come to this decision. Now the value of x is 1. 1 is greater than 0. Yes, it is true. It is true means we will again repeat those two lines. And because of that repetition, what will happen? The answer will become 20 and x will become 0. Now, again we will go for the testing the condition. Now the x is 0 and 0 greater than 0, which is false. And because of that, now we will not repeat these two lines, but we will go to the print line and we will write multiplication is equal to answer. And the present value of answer is 20. So that is how repetition works. Okay, the last point in the program was libraries, and here due to the restriction of time, I have not added the libraries because it is very vast topic. The Python programming is having over 20,000 libraries. So practically it is impossible for one to explore those libraries even in a lifetime. So better I keep my presentation concise to the point of repetition. Libraries you can explore as per your requirements. Is about the exercise. So we will try to have one small program, small Python program for same application again, that is multiplication. So just roll back what I told you. To take the inputs, we need to ask the questions. So let us ask the questions to the user. Here to multiply two numbers, we need to ask the user two inputs, one multiplier and the second one is multiplier. So I'm writing two statements. I'm writing x equal to input because I'm taking input from the user, and I'm then telling to the user that please tell me the multiplier. In the second one, I'm writing y equal to input, and again, please tell me the multiplicand. So now I got the two variables in x and y. Okay, now what is next? The next is to find out the answer, and to find out the answer, we can take the previous code that just now we have seen in the form of table. So I will patch that code here. So now I taught the computer. Now computer has learned how to do the multiplication. So this is the way to do the multiplication. And then next one is we have to tell the results. So with this line, we are telling the results. So this is a complete program from taking the inputs, that is user interaction. We are getting the data. Then we are making the decision if x is greater than 0. And also we are making the repetitions. So this small program explains all the aspects of programming. I repeat again, the first data that we are taking from the user and storing it in a x and y. Second one, user interaction. User is having freedom to give any input and not restrictions. The third thing is decision making. We are making decision making in the form of whether x is greater than 0 or not. And the fourth aspect is repetition that we are doing in the form of those two lines, answer equal to answer plus y and x equal to x minus 1. So this is our very first program in Python. The next one is about commenting your code. Before actually going to the commenting, I would like to tell you that what is the purpose of this commenting. Generally, the comments are added to the program to increase its readability. Okay, what it means. For example, if I'm reading some book, I'm reading some novel, and there are few words I don't know the meaning of. So what I will do, I will refer the dictionary. First, I will write down the meaning for those words, and then later on, I will read it again. What will happen? Because of that, the readability of that particular paragraph will increase. And that is what we are doing in the form of comments. So we add the comments to the program to increase its readability. So again, go back to the same program and we will continue with the same program, that what is the meaning of comment. Now here, I'm writing this comment, some statements. So X is the first input, and I want to tell some new programmer, the beginner, that X is the first input. So I'm writing input 1. Now you can see when I'm writing input 1, before input 1, I'm using the symbol hash that we use in tags, hashtags, right? So whenever I write anything with the hash, that is called as comment. Okay, how that comment is to the computer? For computer, the comment is a something to be ignored. Comment is written for the human understanding and not the machine understanding. It means the concept of interpreter that we have seen. Interpreter will translate our to the language that computer can understand. So because these comments are added for human beings, these comments are not interpreted. So during the process of interpretation, these comments are ignored. Okay. Now, again, to increase the readability, I am writing y is the input 2. So it is the second input. Okay. Then somebody may not understand that what is the purpose of this variable answer. So I'm writing that it is used to store the multiplication. Okay. Then somebody may not understand that why I'm writing x greater than 0. So I'm adding the meaning to that line, that I'm writing x greater than 0 because I'm repeating the below code for x times. So this is the purpose. And finally, when I'm printing multiplication, I need to add some information about that statement. So I am writing that this line represents the output of the program. So this is the purpose of comments. And the reason to add this point is you practice it as a beginner. Otherwise, if you do not practice it as a beginner, we have seen that the finest programmers, they just do the coding. And after a few days, few months, they themselves forget why they have written few statements in a large programs. So I advise, please keep the practice of writing the comments whenever you do the programming. The next concept is about reading the inputs and conversion. Okay, so if you remember in the previous program, we have taken the inputs from the user. So what is the reason that I'm again coming to the point of input? The reason is I told you one hint that X and Y both are numbers here, but in one program we have taken age as the number and name as the string, and how the computer will understand that which one is number and which one is string. For that purpose, we need to make use of conversions. Okay, so we need to modify the previous program. The reason is, by default, whenever I use this input statement, everything the computer read is in the form of string. But if I want to use that string as a number, then I have to inform to the computer that please, whatever is coming as a string, consider it as a number. And for that purpose, if you see, I have added x equal to int and y equal to int to both the lines. So now the computer will understand that whatever is getting stored in a x should be converted to integer, that is number. And similarly for the y. Now, if I execute the program, this program, it will give me the error because the condition do not work on the string, but the condition work on numbers. So if I execute this program as it is, I will get the errors. But if I convert those two things in the numbers, please do not try to compare these two programs. Both are same. The only difference is I am writing int here. So the computer understands that it is integer, and now x is integer. So now in this program, I will not have any error while executing this program. And this is the real code. this is what I have written for our understanding, but this is actually how it looks like in a ideally. So x equal to the first statement, second statement with the comments, and below is the output. So whenever I run this program, whenever I interpret this program and the computer understand, it says, tell me the multiplier. It is coming from the first line. Then tell the multiplicand. It is coming from the line number 2. Then the computer knows how to do the multiplication. So it is done as a repetition. And because of line number 7, it is printing that the multiplication is equal to 20. Okay. Now we want to build a simple calculator. We have studied multiplication, and this multiplication we have taught. But now, can we make it easy for others to implement the multiplication? Yes. We cannot expect everyone to write this logic to do the multiplication. So what we have done is we have implemented this logic in the form of operator for the computer, and then in the process of multiplying two numbers, if you go back to the first slide that I talked to you, can we tell computers how to multiply? Yes. Just now we told the computer that how to multiply. Okay. Now can computer multiply for us? Yes, it will. And this is what we will see now, that how the computer is going to multiply for us. And this is the simple program now. So here, I need not to use any decision. I need not to use any repetition. I have to simply write x asterisk y. For multiplication, computers make use of this asterisk sign, that is shift, and then we press 8. So the multiplication of these two numbers x and y will get stored in this variable answer, and the output remains the same. Okay. So I give you this as an assignment, that how you will implement this calculator. So the other operations that a calculator can perform is, one I showed you multiplication, the another one will be division, subtraction, and addition. The operators will change, and thankfully the remaining three operators are conventional one that we use. But I will just give you the glimpse, and then later on I leave it up to you to implement it. So this is the simple calculator. For multiplication asterisk, for addition plus, for subtraction hyphen, and for division /. So this is what we are using to perform the operations, and I have added the comments. The first arithmetic operation gives me the product, second one gives me the sum, third one gives me the difference, and fourth one quotient. Previously my first input was multiplier and multiplicand. Now because it is arithmetic operation, my first input is the first number, and similarly the second number for the second input. And these are the outputs. So when I'm giving 20 and 10 as input, I'm getting multiplication, addition, subtraction, and division. The reason to keep it as simple as possible is for your understanding. Later on, you can write complicated mathematical equations to write whatever the experiment you wish to write in Python. Okay. Now this is for you. Now this particular puzzle, it is going to focus on problem solving skills, that is computational thinking. And this puzzle is very good example to understand few basic concepts of whatever we have studied so far, and also to test our problem solving skills. Okay, so let me begin with this problem. What is that head and leg problem? There is one farm owned by the MACD, and in which they are having some birds and some animals. So collectively I will call it as animals. So there are some animals which are having two legs, like chicken, duck, and there are some animals which are having four legs, like sheep, goat, pig, horse. So the problem is like this. I am telling you that there are 60 legs and 20 heads in the farm. So can you tell me that how many number of two-legged animals and how many number of four-legged animals are there in the farm? Okay. To begin with, we will take two variables as x and y. And let us say that x is equal to two-legged animals and y equal to four-legged animals. Now, according to mathematics, this problem is having two equations and two unknowns. So it means we can find out the answer. Okay, which are those two equations? I am having the number of heads. It means if I am adding x and y, the answer is 20. And if I am adding 2 times x and 4 times y, that is equal to the number of legs, which is 60. So I can write it in the form of equations. So x plus y gives me the count of heads, and 2 times x and 4 times y gives me the count of legs. In this given situation, the value of heads is equal to 20. Heads is a variable, and legs is equal to 60, which is another variable. And then we can solve it for x and y. I hope you know the process that how we solve these equations. We equate any one variable. So if I multiply first equation with the 2, that will become 2x plus 2y equal to 40. And then with subtraction, we can solve it. Okay, but what is the problem here? If you remember one statement that I showed you, answer equal to answer plus y. At that time, I told you in computers that statement is valid. The reason is the programming says there should be only one variable on the left hand side. But here you can see I am having two variables on the left hand side. In the first equation, I have x plus y. And in the second equation, I am having 2x plus 4y. It means this is not a valid statement according to programming language. And here it comes your problem solving skills, your computational skills. Okay, somebody will suggest me, why not to reverse these equations? You can simply write 20 equal to x plus y. So multiple variables will go on the right hand side. Write 60 equal to 2x plus 4y. Again, those multiple variables will go on the right hand side, and then start solving. But please remember, 20 and 60 are not variables, but these are the constants. And as I mentioned, on the left hand side, we need only one variable. So we have to ensure that it is variable and it is only one on the left hand side. So it tells me that I cannot solve this problem with this method. So how can I solve this problem? So I leave it the solutions up to you, but we are not physically together. So I cannot give you this for solving, and then we can take some time. But I propose the solution here to explain you what computational thinking means. Let us see what these two lines are telling me. The first two lines. What if there are 60 legs and I am subtracting 2 times the heads? It means I am removing all the animals which are having 2 legs. In the next equation, I am writing 4 times the heads. It means I am assuming that all the animals are having 4 legs. And after that, I am reducing or I am subtracting the animals, all the legs that are there in the farm. Okay. Then I am dividing both the values by 2. And to my surprise, the first equation gives me the number of animals which are 2-legged. And the second equation gives me the number of animals which are 4-legged. Now, if I observe these last two equations, I can see that there is only single variable on the left hand side, x. In the second equation, it is y, and both are not constants. Their value can be changed, and so these are the variables. So I fulfilled the requirements in terms of programming, and now this is from my side to you that please write program for this. In this program, you will take the inputs from the user, and what are going to be the inputs? Take the number of heads and take the number of legs, these two variables. So ask the user, enter the number of heads. Then second one, ask the user to enter the number of legs. Then you write these two equations, x and y, and after that, you display the value of x as the number of 2-legged animals, and you display the value of y as 4-legged animals. So now I would like to conclude my today's session. First of all, sorry for the interruption that we had, because of which you might have lost the connectivity in your thought process as well. Uh, we started from the introduction to Python, that Python is getting developed or evolved over the 30 years of time, and it has grown from simple computational language to the versatile language. I will tell you the different areas where we can use this Python, and that is the reason it is so popular nowadays. So with a little bit of knowledge, you can write much complex programs, which is not possible in a conventional languages, which are having the limited libraries with those. Also, we have seen that the need of Python programming is to communicate our thought process to the computer. The first, we teach the computer, and then computer work for us. For these two things, we need to learn Python programming. Then for any program, there are 5 essential things we need to know or we need to have. The first one is data. For data, we need to have variables. The variables are of two categories, that is numbers and strings. Further, the numbers are also of few types. If you remember, it is integer, no fractions, then float, which are having fractions, that is decimal point. The third one is the Boolean one, that is 0 and 1. And fourth one is the complex numbers. Strings do not have the types. The numbers only have the types. Then any program must have data. It must have user interaction. For user interaction, we are making use of input and print statement. The third, what program should have, is the decision making. And the fourth one is the repetition. For decision making, we are using the standard word called as if, and for repetition, we are using a standard word. In technical language, we call it keyword, which is called as while. So these four concepts will help us to write a program. Then again, by default, whenever I write the input statement, the computer will understand that I'm trying to read the string, but so as to inform to the computer that no, sometimes you need to consider that string as a number, we need to do the conversion. And then conversion is a very simple process. We just need to write that input statement inside the int statement. So it will convert that number into integer. Uh, in the future, if you are working with some float values, instead of writing integer, you can write the float and it will accordingly convert that string into the float values. Okay. I could not cover here any example with the float, but you can. It is very easy, similar. And finally, we have seen that uh, we need to follow some rules. On the left hand side, we should have only one variable, and we cannot have constants on the left hand side of the equation. Also, we cannot have multiple variables on the left hand side of equation. We can have only one, and that too variable on the left hand side. Then computational thinking is very much important. Few statements which are valid in mathematics may not be valid in programming. At the same time, few invalid statements in mathematics becomes valid in programming because of the ideology of implementation. Okay. And finally, we can implement basic computer, and in future you can make it further complex to solve the complicated problems that you experience in day-to-day life, and I'm sure it will help. So with this, I conclude my session. So I'm welcoming you for question and answer session. So if you have any questions, uh, please ask me.
Yes, friends, if you have any questions, you can unmute your microphone and can ask the question.
Hello.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I have one question, Yogesh. In the sense, when you said this, is it so that the new and new languages come into existence to make it simpler for the user to communicate with the computer? But at the same time, the job of designing the interpreters, so-called interpreters, is getting difficult, because when it comes to assembly language programming, it is difficult for a user to write, but it is easy for the computer to understand. So now we want to go ahead with languages which are easy for us to write in, but the purpose of this interpreter who translates it into the computer, so that the computer understands, that interpreter becomes more and more complicated. Is it so?
The more and more convenience that we offer to the developer, to the programmer, it puts more and more burden on the interpreter. But
That's what I thought so. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, you are absolutely right. It happens because when I'm giving more functionalities, it means I have to translate more words. It means I need to translate larger vocabulary to the computer. And when that data set increases, I'm trying to put it in a very natural language, ma'am. So whenever I'm trying to convert that vocabulary into the way computer can understand, definitely when my vocabulary is larger, the job of interpreter will increase. But
Correct.
thankfully, with the increasing computational power, the time taken by the interpreter to translate is much less that we can even we cannot observe that there is some delay in that interpretation process. So yes,
Okay.
exactly. When we are making languages more user friendly, we are putting more responsibilities, more burden on the interpreter.
Okay. And what is a crucial difference when it comes to Python language as compared to other languages like Fortran or Basic? Because there also we use these while loops, for conditional statements, taking the inputs and giving the output behind, outside. So, what is a crucial difference when it comes to Python and the previously existing languages?
Okay, I will explain you this concept in terms of languages and in terms of software. Uh, First of all, talking about the languages, yes, Fortran and all these languages are meant for computational problems like formula translation. It is. So
Right.
it is basically designed for translating various formulas that are being used in the scientific community. Uh, but this Python programming is very much generalized. It is not designed for one particular set of users, as not only for scientists, not only for web developers, not only for general programmers, but it has been designed so that anyone can use it. Most of the languages are designed with some specific goal in a mind, but the very specific goal of Python programming is to keep the things simple, if not complex. I suggest you to visit the page of Python in Wikipedia, and I am repeating few words from there. So the aim while designing this Python language was to keep the things simple, if not complex, and keep the things complex, if but not complicated. So in most of the programming languages that I have used, the things are really complicated. The length of program, the difficulty in implementing some logic. But here in Python programming, as libraries are available, the simple example, if I want to sort some numbers, I need to write a lot of lines in any other programming language. But in Python, I can do it with the single command by using sorting. So what happens is the programmer is focused on the goal instead of implementing the necessities, uh,
Okay.
or I should say accessories, which happens in other programming languages. Now this is with reference to the programming languages. Now I would like to also compare this Python with softwares too. That why we are recommending Python is because if you have seen some softwares, for example, say MATLAB. So all the functionalities of MATLAB I can avail in Python. But at the same time, if I'm using MATLAB, I have to pay very heavy price for that. It is licensed one. But all those functionalities are available for free of cost because Python is open source. So I can install Python as well as I can install the libraries for literally no cost. So this is the another added advantage of Python. So Python helps me not only to compete with programming languages, but it also helps me rather to compete with many softwares. So that is the added advantage of Python programming.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, man.
Friends, anybody else has any questions? Yeah, if you have any questions, you can always write back to us.
Yeah.
And we'll be more than happy to help you. Also, if you have any queries, any issues on the related to Python programming for the topic which are not covered in today's webinar, that also are welcome. We at Navratna University are will be more than happy to help you out in your programming on Python. So feel free to approach us.
Yeah, so once again, I thank everyone for being a patient listener, and my apologies for getting disconnected for a while. So it was really nice for me to have interaction with you all and explain the concept. Even it was a big challenge for me that how can I put these things in the simplest manner, in a way that I'm not teaching to my students of computers, but rather to the people who are not having experience of programming. So I hope I could achieve my goal and it benefited you, and you can start programming now. So for any queries, please feel free to write to me, or you reach to Dinesh sir and then Dinesh sir can reach to me. So
Yeah. And
we are
friends,
more than happy.
some of you have requested for the PPT. We have done a recording of this full webinar along with the PPTs. So that will be available in a couple of days on our YouTube channel of Navratna University. You can search on that and you'll find this recording of this webinar onto our YouTube channel. So from there, you can download also and use it for yourself and for your friends also. Please go ahead and make the best use of this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Dinesh sir.
Yeah.